So this is a review of Star Wars Darth Vader The Ghost Prison, which was a 5-issue miniseries that was published by Dark Horse Comic Books. And I had to say, this miniseries is absolutely fantastic. I mean, alright, I'm gonna give you like the general plot synopsis before going on to the review itself. So basically, this book takes place, I want to say a year. It's either a few months or a year after Episode 3. So the Empire is still young. They're still, gathering their armies. Like, they don't just want clones everywhere. They're going to use clones as their stormtroopers, as you know from the original trilogy. But they want to train cadets so that they can be pilots, commanders, and generals. And so the Empire is still very young. They're still figuring out how to do stuff. And then you follow the story of this book revolves around this new character. At least I think he's a new character. I've never seen him or heard him mentioned in any of the other miniseries. So you basically have this character called Thom. His name is spelled with T-O-H-M, but I'm going to call him Tom. So he's basically one of these new cadets that's arrived on Coruscant. He's supposed to meet with Genthis, who's basically the overseer of the training of these new cadets that are going to serve as the future leaders of the Empire. And we basically see the whole book from his perspective. From the second this book opens, you know that the story's already completed because he says at the beginning of every chapter, a record number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of the Ghost Prison incident. So this new character, Tom, he, during an accident in his childhood, he got half his body blown off. He's kind of like Two-Face, but he doesn't have the whole exposed skull thing that Two-Face has, and he's missing his entire left arm. So he goes to Coruscant to be given a special rank as a valedictorian. It's like the special rank for exceptional students who worked really hard. And during his short stay on Coruscant, basically all hell breaks loose. There's like this whole rebellion created by Commander Genthis, who's using his cadets as an army to try and kill the Emperor. And Tom has to deal with how is he going to react to this. Like, do I stay loyal to my friends? Or do I stay loyal to my Emperor? And so he is kind of the main character along with Darth Vader in this book. Alright, what I'm going to say is Darth Vader is an absolute badass in this book. I mean, I've never seen Darth Vader as someone really powerful because of the suit thing. I've always seen him as kind of slow, kind of clunky, and I've always thought intimidation and fear would be his greatest weapons. It's not the case here. Here you see him just completely tear shit up, and he is such a badass while he does it. I mean, he's blocking blaster bolts with his bare hand. He's lifting rocks and throwing them at people, crushing them. He's slicing people up. He is an imposing figure on the battlefield, and I really wish we could have seen this Darth Vader in the movies. But sadly we didn't. But that's okay because you got him here. And Vader, you really don't get inside Vader's head. Vader is very cold and he's very distant. But he does have a few moments because the Ghost Prison, it talks about the Prism. It's basically a secret prison that was created at the end of the galaxy. And it houses hundreds and hundreds of criminals that Tom and Vader will later use as an army to fight Genthis and his rebellion. And Vader is very cold throughout this entire book. Like, you really don't get inside his head a lot. You don't know what he's thinking. He is already a very corrupt and evil person. He's also been completely consumed by the Vader persona. There's this great moment where Tom pulls out the prison's records and says, this General Luke Skywalker, he nabbed more than half the criminals in this prison, and then Tom asks him, then Vader says, yes, Skywalker was one of the finest generals of the old Republic. And then Tom asks Vader what happened to him. Vader just stares at the kid and tells him, I killed him. So you can already see that he's been completely consumed by the Darth Vader persona. This book does have one fault. And it's not the writing, which is phenomenal. It's not the art, which is absolutely beautiful. It is the fact that it is so predictable what's going to happen. I mean, some characters die here that you don't expect. But because everything has to be set in the main Star Wars continuity, we can't have the Emperor die. The Emperor gets stuck in this horrible position, and Vader and Tom have to get him off Coruscant because the rebels are going to kill him. But we know he's going to survive. We see him survive until he survives at least another 20 years later. So it kind of defeats the tension. It completely destroys any possible tension with the Emperor. Every time they're like, oh my god, he might die, he might die. No, he's not going to die. He is going to survive, and he's going to still be an asshole for another at least 25 years. So yeah, that is the only real fault with the book. Everything else is absolutely phenomenal. Tom is a brand new character as far as I know, and he has a whole history. When he tells you his history, it doesn't feel contrived or forced. He's a multi-layered character. You can see that there is a good guy in him, but there's also this great evil in him that Vader really admires and the Emperor admires as well. So he's an incredibly multi-layered character, and so much is done with him in this 5-issue miniseries. It's very, very impressive. Also, this book was pretty violent for a Star Wars comic book. Well, for anything Star Wars. Like, Star Wars has never really been that violent. But here you see people get beat to death with their bare hands. You see blood splatter everywhere. You see people get completely mutilated. The Emperor fries this one guy with electricity, and then you just see his fried corpse on the floor. This is definitely a little darker storyline, but it does deal with themes of betrayal. What does loyalty mean to you? Who are you truly loyal to? And should you sacrifice your loved ones or your friends for some greater cause? And it's a really deep, methodical book, especially for Star Wars, which really isn't that deep. I've never seen it as anything really deep or profound. But this book was surprisingly deep and profound, and I really applaud it for that. I don't know the creative team of this book, but I really want these guys to cook up another Darth Vader miniseries. And soon, I might add. And I hope that this artist gets more work. Like, the art in this miniseries is better than most of the art that DC and Marvel release for their big comic books. It is absolutely beautiful. It looks like this painting not in motion, but it looks like this painting. Everything is incredibly detailed. The action scenes they're very cinematic. Like, the artist here is very cinematic. Whenever there's a big fight, you have this like huge 2-page spread of Vader just wrecking people. You see him, murder like dozens and dozens of stormtroopers all at once. So it's a very cinematic book. You get a lot of overhead shots that show you just how many people are participating in the battle, what's going on. And the inner monologues are used to great effect in this book because you see everything from the perspective of a Tom who's already gone through all of this. And basically, during his report that he's writing, which serves as the monologuing for this book, you basically hear him say, this prisoner was this guy, and this is his short backstory. This prisoner is this guy, and this is his short backstory. And there's just a whole page of him walking around a lot of corpses and just recollecting the history of these prisoners that were, just murdered in front of him. So yes, this book is absolutely phenomenal. I highly, highly recommend that you pick this up.